Hello, I'm Kate Arndt. I'm the Youth and Diary Historian here at the Holocaust Museum in Houston. Welcome to another episode of Youth Chats. It's been a while, but we're here. We're in a different room today. We're in the main gallery here, but I'm in a gallery section where it is most important. We're going to be talking about the kiddos we're going to be talking about today. This is called Killing in the East, or basically Holocaust by Bullets. So, for those of you who don't know, a lot of people were murdered in different various ways, specifically Jews. Some of them were gassed. The majority of them were gassed in gas chambers. Some of them died of disease. A lot of them died of disease. Some of them died by other forms of death. But some of them, and the majority of them, were murdered by bullets, by shooting. And today, I would like to talk about two girls or sisters that died by such bullets. These are the Sorger or Serger sisters. So I know it's kind of always weird in here. Okay, here we go. Okay, because the glare. So we have here. Let me get this one. We have Donia and Esther. So Donia Rosa was born in 1922. So she turned 100 in 2022. And Esther was born in 1925. The family had another daughter. Her name is Sonia, and she was born in 1932, and Sonia will be a very important aspect of the story. So these girls were from Oberton, Poland, or now is it in the Ukraine. So they grew up in a very kind of comfortable house, very comfortable lifestyle. Their father, Eli, was a great photographer, and you can see, it looks like this is in a photography studio. These were, portraits taken of them. And the Nazis invaded, obviously. Well, actually, the Soviets invaded first to Oberton, and they were going to be going to Siberia, but because of their father's work as a photographer, they were allowed to remain in Oberton. But when the Nazis took over in 1939, things became a little bit more difficult for them. They were deported to the Donia was, and her mother and her father and her sister Sonia were deported to the Kolomok ghetto. Esther, who was a nurse at the time, was helping with typhus cases in a hospital. So she was able to evade all the ghetto conditions, if you will. These girls are so cute. So Donia, I believe, is the oldest. Sometimes it's hard to tell in photos who's Donia and who's Esther because they look very much alike, as you can. But I always kind of know because Esther's always a little taller, as you can kind of see, and Donia's a little short. But anyway, so their grandmother dies in the ghetto, unfortunately. But I think with an exchange program, the father, the mother, and the sister Sonia, they're allowed to go back to Oberton because his work as a photographer. Unfortunately, the other two daughters are kind of left behind and kind of left to their own devices, if you will. But Donia is able to escape the ghetto, and she goes back to Oberton, where she reunites with Esther, who Esther manages to evade the Nazis' deportations amongst the staff, and she goes into hiding. These two girls manage to hide together, I believe, with an uncle. And so they hide with a lady. And one thing I like to stress to students is that hiding was not an easy thing to do. It was a very risky thing to do. And sometimes, even if the people took you in thinking they would hide you, sometimes did not always go as planned. And sometimes things would backfire. And unfortunately for these beautiful girls, the woman that they were hiding with, she decided that she needed milk, and sometimes the bounty for a Jew for hiding was, $2, and they could give you supplies. So for these beautiful girls, their lives were not important enough to keep hidden. So the lady turns them in to the police, and they go to the police. I'm sure they're booked. And they are taken out to a forest. And they are given shovels. And when I tell their stories to students, I always ask them, why do you think they were handed shovels? And some people are like, a lot of the students are clueless because, they've never been taken out to a forest and handed a shovel. This is also February of 1943, by the way. It's freezing in the Ukraine. Okay, it's cold, it's snowing, it's probably negative 20 degrees. They probably do not have coats. It's probably very cold. So anyway, again, I asked the students, why do you think they were handing shovels? And some of those kids will be like, aren't they digging their own graves? That's what they're doing. So they're digging their own graves. They are told to strip. I don't know why. That's always weird to me when that usually is. I guess I just needed their clothes, really. And, you know, they're holding on to each other. Danya and Esther are holding on to each other. They're scared to death. Their uncle is shot first, and then both girls are shot. Now, here's the kind of the sad story. It's kind of where I ask students about this kind of next part. So Esther is using her body as a shield to protect Danya. Because as you can kind of see, Esther is a lot taller and probably a lot bigger than Danya. So Esther is using her body as a human shield to protect her sister. Both girls are hit, but Esther dies pretty much immediately. Now I say to students, do you think Danya was still alive? And most students will say yes, and you would happen to be right. She was still alive. She was not dead yet. And this is where I ask the question, do you think she'll make it? Do you think the Nazis had a change of heart? And some students say yes, some students say no. Well, here's the unfortunate part. This is where I believe Danya made the very bad mistake. She shouldn't have said anything. Danya calls out to the Nazis, please don't shoot me, I'm not dead yet. Please don't kill me, I'm not dead yet. Well, do you know the term, as I ask students of the term buried alive? Those Nazis looked at that girl, this innocent girl, who probably was wounded from the bullets, because Esther, like I said, was using her body as a shield to protect her sister, because usually that's what sisters do. And one of them said, start shoveling, boys. And they bury her. She can't really get up. She's trying to, and they said, if you get up, we'll shoot you. So she is very much buried alive, and she's buried so much under the ground she suffocates because of the weight of the dirt. And people say, well, how could that kill her? Because dirt can't kill you. I said, when you're under 6 feet of dirt and you suffocate that dirt inside your lungs, you suffocate. So she's dead. Okay? So she dies. And it's really sad because look how pretty they are. They're so cute. I love this. And I also love this picture as well. It's one of my favorite pictures of them. I have it actually as a phone screensaver. So anyway, so Danya was 22. Esther was 18. Now, we're going to talk about the little one here. This is Sonia. And Sonia manages to survive. She goes into hiding because there's this policeman who knew the family and decides to hide her. So the parents, unfortunately, they go into hiding. They are caught. They are put in jail. I think the mother tries to commit suicide. It doesn't go well. And they are taken out to a Jewish cemetery where they too are shot to death. Unfortunately for them, they die immediately. But Sonia, the little one right here, she is saved by a Polish family who takes her in, and they raise her. And I think when she's like 11 or 12 at the end of the war, she is told that all her family is dead. I don't think people understand the severity of this when you lose your entire family. You lose them. They're gone. What do you want to do about it? And people just assume that they just want survivors to get over it. I tell people who tell survivors that they don't have to get over a damn thing, because they have the right to be angry because men and women and just people took their families from them for no reason at all. These girls, the cool thing about these girls, Danya was studying business. She wanted to be probably a manager of something. Esther was studying to be a nurse. She was going into the medical field. Both very educated women, just flawless, and yet their lives were taken because they were in hiding. Number one, they were Jewish. Number two, that's really the only reason why they died. They were not bad girls. They were beautiful girls. And Sonia actually, I think she goes by the name Crystal now. or Shalamot, her Hebrew name. She lives in Israel, I believe. I'm not sure where, but I'm hoping to God she's okay. She wrote a beautiful book about all of the story, and she talks about her sisters a lot. And she said that Donia was, Donnie was beautiful, but she said that Esther was prettier, which I'm thinking, well, they're both beautiful. At the end of the war, all the family photos that Eli took of the children survived. All of them. All of the girls. And it's a beautiful, like if you go to Yad Vashem and you type in Sorger, I think it's Sorger, where you can find the majority of them, you will find these beautiful pictures of the family, and you can see how much they really loved each other. This is a beautiful family that just loved each other and grew up in Jewish tradition and just loved life. As you can see, they were very photogenic. Esther and Donia usually wore the exact same clothes. As you can see, they always wore very much the same thing, which is always why it's hard to tell who is who in the photos. But I started studying them actually in 2016. There was a picture of the three of them I'm trying to remember what holiday it was. Crap, I'm blanking. I'm sorry. Sukkot. And in traditional photo fashion, Eli took a photograph of all three of his beautiful girls, and it was just a photo that I just could not stop looking at, and I wanted to know more about it. And this actually happened after we had a very bad president get into office. I'm not going to say his name, obviously, because he doesn't deserve any credit or recognition. But anyway, these two girls just kind of screamed at me that they needed help. And I know that sounds weird of me to say it like that, but they are beautiful, and I have studied them for quite a long time. Have I reached out to Sonia? I don't know how to. I would try to reach out to Yad Vashem, see if they can reach out to her if she's safe, just to say, look, I'm studying your sisters. I adore them. They have become a part of my life, and please know that I'm remembering them all the time, especially when I'm in here. So when I'm actually doing a tour and we get to this section of the museum, I do talk about these girls because they were dead by bullets. Technically, Donia was buried alive, but that's still the same kind of deal. She was shot to death, and Esther saved her sister's life for a few minutes because she used her body as a shield. Unfortunately, Sonia, I think she was like 11 or 12, or she was very young, so I'm surprised she remembered her sisters because her sisters were much older. But the thing about these girls is that even through all the hell they went through, the Nazis couldn't take what they looked like. They couldn't take away what they looked like, because a lot of the Jewish children that I study, unfortunately, they do not have photographs of them because Nazis destroyed them, or they couldn't afford photographs. But luckily, by a miracle, all the photographs that Eli took of his children survived, and they still survive today, and they're just beautiful and they're gorgeous, and he's just an amazing photographer, and I'm just so glad that he took photos of his children, and we still have them. So anyway, thank you for joining me on Youth Chats. I hope you have a great day.